Okay. Chris, hello Chris, says, I always love to hear about 40k or maybe the future of the Marvel Cosmic range. At the moment, you will know that Thanos Imperative ended in a very dramatic fashion this week. There is an epilogue issue called Devastation, which is coming out, I think, in the month after next. And there are plans afoot in the Marvel Cosmic side of things, but I can't talk about them particularly yet. There are also many other Marvel things going on, though. Andy and I are working on a Thor and Iron Man series called God Complex, the first issue of which is out, which is great, and having great fun with that. And of course we're gearing up now for Heroes for Hire, which is our new series which starts in December next month. And in fact Henry says, here's a Marvel question, what's the biggest draw of taking the Heroes for Hire gig? Which were the characters or concepts that really ignited your passion for the job? What villains can we see the heroes tangling with? Come on, Batroc. Ah, Zalipa. Okay, that was more long question. Yes, it was, Henry. Heroes for Hire. Well, Andy and I thought we would try and tackle something that was completely not cosmic. So going to the sort of street level area of the Marvel Universe was about as far away from cosmic as we could possibly get. We're talking the street level characters, that is to say the urban vigilante type things. Bill Roseman, our editor on Guardians, had a whole batch of these characters. He wanted to sort of marshal into some form of team or team-esque book to follow on from Shadowland. And we came up with this idea, and in fact it wasn't a matter of taking the Heroes for Hire gig. We petitioned for the book to be called Heroes for Hire. We wanted to use the title and follow that legacy, even though the concept is slightly different from the way the concept has been handled before. In ways that you will see when you read it. Essentially it's a non-team, it's all sorts of very cool characters, all the urban characters you want to see. Falcon, Black Widow, Punisher, Elektra, Moon Knight, Paladin, Misty Knight, Silver Sable, Iron Fist, goodness, all sorts of different people. But they are being orchestrated by a handler who is moving them into positions and selecting them for specific tasks. So they may not necessarily know what mission they're trying to accomplish or what the big picture is, how that plays out into a bigger mission. And they may not necessarily know even that they're being hired. Hired, we're using the word in the loosest sense. Some of them can be paid to do a job, but other ones won't even work if you ask them nicely, so they've got to be manipulated into operating. Which is why you could have a team where for instance, the Falcon might come along and do something out of the goodness of his heart because he's a good upstanding citizen. But you might need to seriously manipulate the Punisher into doing something, and you might need to pay Elektra to do something. So that's how it works. There's also, the book is structured so that there are ongoing stories, missions if you like, with a great rotating cast. Characters will recur, we don't just have them and then use them and throw them away again. But there will also be an underlying meta story, which is full of major turns and twists and reveals and surprises. So there's intrigue, not everything is what it seems. And we think that we're hopefully delivering entertainment on different levels in the course of the book. And it's great fun to work in this sort of urban milieu rather than the space one. Having said that, all the crimes that they're stopping, all the missions they're undertaking are very, very Marvel Universe orientated. So that they are absolutely, they're crimes that can only have happened in the Marvel Universe, or problems that can only crop up in the Marvel Universe. And Brad Walker is drawing it, and Brad is fantastic. So I can heartily recommend that. Boom said, given that Marvel seems to be heading towards the cosmic universe in their movies, with both Thor and Captain America having cosmic Easter eggs in them, do you see them making a Nova movie or a Guardians of the Galaxy movie? And given the addition of script writing to your resume and the fact that you and Andy Lanning have basically saved the cosmic line for Marvel, would you be interested in writing the script for either of those movies? Second part of that question is yes, of course we would. The first part of that question is I haven't heard anything about that, but I can only assume that Marvel is in it for the long game, and they understand how their properties work. And if they're making, as it were, terrestrial heroes, they've done Spider-Man, they've done the X-Men, they're now working through the Avengers. At some point, they're going to look for new sort of pastures. Cosmic to me seems like a great way to go with such cool characters in it. Not just Nova and Guardians, but Silver Surfer and Galactus and stuff like that in a cosmic setting would be fantastic. So that would be a sensible thing for them to do, I think. Brian TM said, do you take a different approach to writing plotting short serialised comics such as Sinister Dexter and Kingdom in comparison to the Marvel 22-page comics? Yes. He says, do you break down longer comics into chapters that make the process much the same? No, absolutely not. A 22-page comic is written to 22 pages in the same way that you wouldn't plot a short story like part of a big novel, really. The Sinister Dexter, as an example of a 5 or 6 page comic for 2000 AD, is constructed as an episode with the beginning, middle and ending for each week, so it's a satisfying read of itself. It's not, although it would read perfectly well collected together, and it's, you know, it is episodic, it is not designed to just be the next bit with no intro or outro. Similarly, most of the time Andy and I write the Marvel and DC stuff for America, the 22 pages, as self-contained individual comics. I think the primary point of interface with the reader is when they buy the comic in their comic shop when it comes out. The fact they're collected together again and read perfectly well when put together in a trade paperback is lovely, but I do not like it when people write comics just as the next bit without any kind of sense of pacing or chapter beginning or end. I mean, it's just lazy, really. It's old school. Do it like Stan and Jack did it, where you start with a story, you've got a title, you've got an introduction, you've got your credits, you get into it, and you build up to a climactic ending of that episode. Otherwise, what's the point? Which are easy to write in comics, limited series or ongoing series? Ongoing series are really difficult because you've got to obviously maintain the monthly rate and maintain the story quality and keep it going, but in some respects that is easier because you fall into a rhythm and you get comfortable with characters and you can explore and think of really imaginative things to do, often spontaneously. You can suddenly decide this month I'm going to do this, whereas limited series tend to be planned in advance. You know where it's going, you know how it's going to end before you even get there, so they are sort of a done deal. Zach, what were some of the Legion stories that you and Mr. Lanning were working on that you never got? This is not Legion, that's not Alpha Legion, now we're at Legion of Superheroes. DC run that Andy and I did a few years ago, 5-year run we did. Some of the Legion stories that you and Mr. Lanning were working on that you never got a chance to do. Who are your favourite Legion members to write? We loved working on Legion. It was a real big body of work. It's probably a big thing that we did in American comics that moved us into where we are now, doing cosmic stuff for Marvel and everything. We had a great run. DC were extremely good about keeping us on the book. They wanted to move teams around and shake things up, and in fact we should have been moved on earlier than we did. They gave us a chance to finish out as much of the stories that they knew we had planned as we could. We didn't quite get to the end, and there would have been a big story. We had one other story to tell about Apparition's child and stuff, which we didn't get to tell, and probably is a good idea because it was a very sort of final story and it would have been very difficult to pick up after that. But it was wonderful to get to tell the story. I mean, I think there was a sense of closure, and we did get to tell a body of work. I'd love to see some more of it in trade paperback, I would have to say. DC, about time some of it was recorded. I get some very, very complimentary comments from all sorts of unlikely places about Legion run, and there's precious little of it collected. So Legion of the Damned, it'd be nice to see that. Legion Lost, Legion Worlds. I think there is one collection of some of the later stuff on the Legion, but there's a lot of other stuff there that, if nothing else, there's some great art. We had an issue drawn by Darwin Cook. We had Olivier Coipel do a whole run. I mean, there's some fantastic stuff. So yeah, that would be nice to see collected.